Hi, I'm Mandelyn Royal, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of the Poultry Keepers podcast. Joining me in the studio are John Gunterman and Rip Stalvey, the rest of our podcast team, and we're looking forward to visiting with you and talking poultry from feathers to function.
How many times have you seen someone told to find themselves a mentor? Now, how many times have you seen an explanation on how to be a good mentor? I don't think I've ever seen that. So, coming up, we're going to share our thoughts on how you can be a good mentor and make an impact for those in need of help. Hey, before we get started on today's episode, there's something I want to talk about that I think is pretty cool. This episode actually marks the beginning of the second year of the Poultry Keepers podcast. We started in June of 2023, and this is airing in June of 2024. We've covered a lot of topics in our first year. When we stop and think about it, though, we've really only scratched the surface. There's a lot more to keep sharing with you folks. And Mandelyn and John and I are looking forward to the next 12 months. And we'll hope you'll come along with us for the ride because it's going to be fun, it's going to be educational, and you're going to enjoy it. Without further ado, let's get started on our second year right now. I guess we probably should start with some definitions. I think there's a bit of a misconception out there of what a mentor is. A lot of folks think of a mentor as a coach, which is part of it. Coach is a person who trains or instructs an individual or team. And then I've also heard a mentor described as a teacher, someone who helps others to acquire knowledge. So, yeah, that's part of it. But I think it goes a little more in depth than that. I think a mentor is really an experienced person that you can trust, who gives you advice and help over a long period of time. It's a long-term relationship. My mentor, when I was getting started in Reds, he worked with me for probably 10 or 12 years. And up until just before his health deteriorated so bad he wasn't able to do it. But I still didn't feel like I had tapped into all of his knowledge. So be in it for the long term.
I have a little tiny side note
Yes.
because I realized the value of having a mentor a long time ago in a lot of different topics. Poultry, obviously, were a main one. And when you start developing that relationship with someone who is willing to coach you and teach you and be your mentor, as the mentee, you almost have to run with them as long as you can and really keep that relationship going, but also learn to recognize if you've maybe outgrown them and maybe you need to find a new one. And it doesn't have to be a single person. As you advance through the hobby and as you acquire your knowledge, you might have to trade up on mentors too. Just something to keep in mind if
Well,
you ever feel like you've
Yeah,
outgrown them.
that's a really good point.
and
I
different
think,
people have different areas of expertise. Like,
Exactly.
if you're looking for sustainability perspective, you'd come to me. If you're looking for meat production and stuff like that, you go to Mandy. If you're gonna be showing, you talk to Rip. That's how I see us as a resource pool. I don't know anything about showings. That's why I'm here, is to pick Rip's brain on that.
it
It
won't
takes
take
a
long.
village.
Nobody knows everything, but together we know a lot.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so don't feel like you have to pick just one.
And John, you mentioned something the other day that's so important.
Oh, is that my teaching is learning
Yes, it is.
twice?
Share that with the folks listening in, if
Yes.
you would, please.
It's the whole concept. And my sensei, when I did martial arts, would make his senior students instruct classes. And he'd say, because teaching is learning twice. It's going to really highlight what you thought you knew and didn't really know, especially when the younger students or pupils are asking you, okay, yeah, but why? Can you explain it to me in a different way? I don't quite get it. And then you've got to go back and question your own assumptions and beliefs and ways. And it's just an amazing learning process. It really is.
I find a lot of fun in it personally.
I love it
Being
when
the
somebody
mentee and the
asks me
mentor.
why, and I go, I don't know. But
Yeah.
you know what? I'm going to hit the books and we're going to find out together. We'll figure this out. To me, that's mutual learning, and I love that aspect of it.
Oh, I agree with you, John. I thought I knew poultry pretty good until I started Poultry Keepers 360 Facebook group. And I was getting questions from people that thought, let me get back to you on that.
Different environment, different part of the country, different breed, different situations. It makes you stop and think, and you really become a better poultry keeper, I think. So you can be a mentor and a mentee. You could be in the middle, and
Yeah.
that's fine too.
I-
Sometimes you're taking what's coming down and you're absorbing it and processing it, and then I don't want to say regurgitating that, but you're applying it and then showing others. And at each stage of this, things are going to change slightly because everybody does things a little different. What you tell and show me, and then I go to my farm and implement may not be the exact same way because I have different challenges and different infrastructure.
exactly.
But we all learn a little bit from each other. And I've noticed that around my farm. I look at things and like, when did I start doing this that way? And then I think back and like, oh yeah, when I saw or heard so-and-so tell me try this, and I did, and it mostly worked, but then I had to do this as well. And then it became my thing.
My favorite thing about it is learning something, applying it, but then learning how to make that thing work for our specific flock and our specific situation, because that's how the knowledge can grow. And
Yes.
then you learn those little tweaks.
It's the application of the knowledge that sets it, I believe.
Yeah.
The thinking is great, but the doing is what cements it in place.
That's where the rubber meets the road.
And whether it's going to work or not. And then you reassess and you go, that didn't work out as planned. Let's noodle on this a little more.
Mandelyn, what are some of the qualities you think a good mentor should have?
I've done a lot of educating and training professionally and within hobbies, and especially in chickens. And I think the main thing is the respect for diverse perspectives and being a really good people person and being really patient and learning how to ask those qualifying questions to figure out where they already are, where they've already been, and where they're hoping to go.
Very important. What about, I know one thing that I've learned mentoring people over the years is as a mentor, you need to be flexible because, and this is something we've touched on, but you need to really work at understanding what that person's going through that you're helping, what their experiences are. You have to be flexible and not try to make them conform to exactly the way you do it.
Yeah, if you have that expectation, you're going to be very disappointed.
Absolutely.
John, this one's for you. What about experience? How high does that rank for you in looking for a mentor?
To me, that's pretty critical. In the corporate world, I've met people who are incredibly intelligent, like engineers who design products. I did customer service in between. They weren't competent to talk to customers, but they could design products. It's that translation gets lost.
And having that ability to break things down into easily digestible
manageable.
tidbits. Yeah.
Yeah, manageable chunks. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say dumb it down, but slow it down. Not everybody can hit the ground running. This is a process and it takes time. And as the birds grow, the tender grows, and it's a mutually beneficial situation, hopefully.
I think it's easy for a mentor, I know it was for me at first, to forget that my experience is certainly not the same as somebody I'm mentoring. So it's much easier for you to get down on their level and bring someone up than it is to expect them to start on your level.
Definitely.
Because that's just going to lose them big time.
Yeah. Managing the expectations, I think, is really important. Unfortunately, I didn't have a mentor per se available. I went to an ag college that specialized in sustainable ag, and I learned in the field on a flock that fed the campus. That was an interesting experience and got me really hooked into poultry and the need for sustainable foods and a food system. But it also highlighted a lot of the failings of our industry and even in our knowledge base, what passes for knowledge on the internet. Some of it's downright dangerous.
Yeah. I had big hopes for the internet back in 1995.
Oh, yeah. But
How
anyways,
things change.
yeah. I think a lot of it is when I was in the military and we were in our senior enlisted continuum, basically teaches you how to be a good role model to the junior enlisted. They were always stressing, know your people. Don't just know them physically, get to know them.
Oh,
Bring them
yeah.
in the office, sit down and say, not just how you doing, but how you doing? How's your wife? How's your kids? What's happening on the outside? Because that's going to affect their inside performance. And same thing, know your birds. If you don't sit there and can at least pick out 5 or 6 visually within 30 seconds and go, okay, that's this bird. I know them. It's a level of involvement and a level of intimacy that you need to have. Otherwise, I don't think you should be in the fancy,
I agree.
because then it's just livestock and you're treating them like a commodity meat. And that's not my thing at all.
That's not mine either, because I've realized that each and every bird brings certain things to the table, and there's discrepancies within the same breed, same hatch. There's just little tiny differences in there. And that's what you have to learn to recognize to figure out who you're going to breed forward from or not. And I've been in the position a couple of times now where people reach out to me with some very lofty flock goals, and they're going to make so much money on this new business. And then that's where honesty comes into play, where you have to explain, whoa, these aren't cookie cutter stamped manufactured products. Each one is different than the next, and you have to go through each one and figure out if they're going to help you out or not in your
Yeah.
program, because you can ruin the work of a good breeder in as little as 1 generation, 3 generations. If you stray off and do things very differently, away from the norms, you might not find the success that you were after, and then your enthusiasm is just going to fall apart. You're going to drop out and not be a part of it anymore.
Well, a lot of that falls back on what I call building rapport with your customer, with your mentee, whoever it is. The trust and being an active listener and being as encouraging without being too rigid you can.
I
But
think, and go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
just really listening to the people. And you touched on identifying their goal and their plans and keeping them grounded and in the real moment.
Another aspect of honesty is you need to be willing to tell your mentor or your mentee what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. We've all seen this on the Facebook groups. Somebody posts a picture of a bird, and what do you think? And nobody seems to want to hurt somebody's feelings, especially newcomers. So they say, "Oh, nice bird. He's pretty." Always something positive. When in reality, the bird is not really all that good, but nobody will speak up and tell someone that. And that's where you as a mentor have to be willing to tell someone that. And you have to know that you may make them completely mad with you, but you're not doing them any service, and you're not doing the breed they're working with any service. If they have a poor looking bird, and tell them, "Oh, man, that's a great bird. Yeah, I'd use him. Yeah."
But part of that comes with handling the bird and having that person handle the bird and having a copy of the standard of perfection or whatever the standard for that bird is, and having them understand why that bird's not a quality candidate for breeding.
Yeah, because I've seen people who will rip a bird apart based off of a picture, and they don't explain why. Why is that trait not desirable? They just rip it apart and leave that sit there in all of its negativity without any kind of positive anything to it.
But
Yeah.
you got to be honest
Some
about
people are
with the
too
positive.
honest.
Yeah.
But if you're going to tell somebody this is not right with your bird, don't go on to something else. Tell them why it's not right.
Mhm.
Tell them what they can do to try to improve on that.
Because
Sure.
sometimes breeding work and finding the appropriate mate for that bird can fix what's wrong in the offspring, and they'll come out better. Because I've used some birds that some people were giving me some grief about. Like, why are you using that one? And I'm like, I need this trait and this trait, and I have this other bird over here that doesn't
Mhm.
have those same problems. And then I sort through the offspring, and then I find the better ones. Not going to be all of them by any means, but I only need one good one, technically.
Birds like you're talking about using their Mandelyn, my mentor used to call his parts birds.
Yeah, parts birds.
He kept a pen of birds, a pen of females and a pen of males, that you look at them, you say, why in the world did he keep that bird? And I ask him that sometimes. He said, "Well, that female over there's got a nice long back. Yeah, her legs are too short and color's not quite right, but she'll put good backs on the birds, on her chicks. Or that bird's got a really nice tail. Not too long, it's not too short, nice curve on the sickles." So you got to know when you need a parts bird, and hopefully you've got a parts bird to go to that'll be able to help you out.
And I think that falls into line with that providing corrective feedback aspect
Mhm,
of
mhm.
evaluating a bird and saying, well, this bird is lacking in these characteristics, but this bird has them. So perhaps they're close enough to compensate for each other. We did touch on compensation mating. Just to reiterate, don't pick two traits that are widely different. You want them close enough to gradually make changes. And that could be inspiring to the mentee. Get them involved. Say, okay, you know what? Let's do a test hatch. We'll put this rooster with this hen and see what they throw. See if the problem gets better or worse.
And you
And if you
touch on
find that one that's just right, off you go into the next generation, and now they're even better than they were.
That's right.
Yeah.
But John, you touched on something, and I could even hear it in your voice, and that's the importance of enthusiasm and a positive attitude. If you've got a mentor that's not enthusiastic and he's a woe is me type person, I don't think I could ask someone like that to mentor me. I don't want them to be so positive that they gloss over things. That's not what I'm talking about. But if their just attitude in general is a negative attitude, that's not the person you want working with you.
I look
Seems
at
to
these
really help.
things as opportunities for improvement.
It seems to really help that you find someone who not only shares your flock goals, but you can get along as friends too, to some extent,
Yeah.
like a temperament match of the people too.
That brings up something else that's really important is sometimes it may not be a good fit. People you network with the people in the hobby or fancy, and you be a good liaison. If you're not a good mentor or mentee, you can recommend somebody who might fit better.
Exactly right. Sometimes it's not who you know, it's who you know that knows the person.
Right. If somebody
Um,
comes asking questions about Rhode Island Reds, I don't know. Send them to Rip.
One thing that I place a high value on when looking for a mentor is they don't keep secrets. If they know something, they'll share it with you. And where I'm coming to on this is that so many people who show poultry, and I'll use them as an example. I'll pick on my show friends. I know some that would not tell you for a minute how they condition their birds. They don't want you knowing what they know. You can't be like that and help somebody. You just can't.
And the vibe that newcomers have when they encounter that, it turns them off.
Sure it does.
And to me, from the show perspective, I don't show much at all, but I used to show dogs and dabbled in some horses and stuff like that. And when you are so rigid and you don't help the new people willing to come in, it's going to shrink how many people are involved over time. And when you go and you win, do you want the best bird out of 10 or do you want to be the best bird out of 100? But if you block people or otherwise put a negative experience to the beginners, you're very quickly going to have just 10 entries to beat and not that bigger pool that really helps a good bird shine. It's better for your own if you're after the win, you want the big wins because that's what really means something. The bigger the pool, the better they perform, the better that bird is.
In the
You
show
know,
world, do they account for that in the size of the show when they award points to a breeder? I know there's some national ranking system.
it's how many birds you beat to attain the points for that, like
Okay.
a class champion. How many birds did he have to beat to become class champion? So yeah, in a sense, the size of the show has an impact on
So
it.
that is weighted in some way on
Yes, yes.
the numbers.
But golly bum, I can honestly say, and I know I'm not the most competitive person in the world, but I like to win the show. Don't misunderstand me. But it wasn't the all-consuming important thing for me about showing poultry. What was far more important for me was being able to breed a good bird, to be able to condition a good bird. And I knew if I had bred the best bird, I knew how to. And if I conditioned it the best, I knew how to. If I won, oh, wonderful. Hand me the ribbon. If I didn't win, so what? I wish that person had won well. That just means that he was doing things a little bit better one way or another than I was. I can't be mad at him. I can only be upset and mad with me. No secrets, folks.
What about these
What if,
people that just put mean birds in a show and sit there and snicker when the judges try to examine them?
Honestly, what I do, or what I did, I'm not judging anymore. But if I had a mean bird, I just wrote mean on the tag and kept going. He did not get judged.
that's a good idea.
We never tolerate aggression,
No.
so why would we show a mean bird?
Oh, some folks. I did. I was judging the show up in South Carolina one time, and a guy had some large fowl Old English games. Okay. And I thought, oh, they just look like they'd like to grab you. And then I looked up on top of the cage, and he had left some gloves, long leather gloves.
Very nice.
And he when I started going down to judge that class, he said, use those gloves if you want to. I won't be upset.
Now, that's a nice consideration.
And
Yeah.
with a game fowl, that's not inappropriate.
No.
I don't know. When I had games, they were people friendly as all get out. It was just bird against bird where they were a little temperamental, and I couldn't just have them run in with everybody. But with me, they were great.
Oh,
My
man.
brief experience was they don't like strangers. They're fine on the farm, but somebody new or something new comes to the farm and they get,
Oh yeah, they're
explanation.
almost like having guard geese. I
Yeah.
had one. My dad started a chainsaw up at 20 feet away from one of the pullets. And as soon as she heard that noise coming out of nowhere, she shot 40 feet straight up into a tree and then screamed her head off all afternoon about it.
And I've seen bantams that would charge a running chainsaw and try and fight it.
Yeah, the Bantams have some of the worst attitudes in the world sometimes.
Chihuahua syndrome.
Okay, we're digressing here.
Oh, yeah. That's what makes the show interesting.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
John, what are some of the core skills mentors should use? What do you think?
I don't know. To me, it really comes back to getting to know your mentee well and being open to understanding them and their birds and their environment. I've got to
Okay.
almost erase my preconceptions on how to raise a bird when I go to somebody else's property because it completely changes. They're naturally going to do things differently, and I need to be receptive to that.
I think we need to be, as a mentor, we need to practice active listening. Listen to what they're saying, because sometimes what you think you hear them saying is not what they're asking.
Just learn what makes them tick. Ask
Sure.
them what their challenges are and what they have been. And getting to know how somebody thinks and how they troubleshoot through problems is a good way to get to know them. So, what were your challenges last year? What did you do? And it gives you a good base level to start building from as well.
And sometimes you have to ask a lot of questions to really get to the things that they never even thought to tell you.
Yes.
Because something they
Exactly
consider
right.
trivial could actually be what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about, we talked about identifying goals and plans with them, but I think as a good mentor, you have to be able to earn their trust and respect. Because if they don't trust you, they don't respect you, no matter how good the advice you share with somebody, it's going to go in one ear and straight out the other one.
And ultimately, it's going to be frustrating for everybody involved. Again, building rapport and you're empowering your mentee.
I think, and Mandelyn, you got to it. Well, you didn't get to it. You got to this, but you didn't really say it this way. But when someone asks you a question or shows you a picture, don't just tell them, I don't like this, or that's not right. Tell them why. What you're doing is providing them with corrective feedback. If they understand why a bird is not right, or why this is not right about a bird, why that's not right about a bird, then they can understand, and they're more likely to work towards taking your advice and correcting the problem later on down the road.
Yeah, and it just gets tricky if it's a bird that they love bunches and
Sure it is.
That's
Hmm.
where that honesty comes right back at play.
Yes. Yes.
You develop an emotional and or a financial attachment to a particular bird or set of birds. And, I've been there. We've all been there.
Oh, that financial attachment can be rude. There's
Hmm.
been a handful of times where I laid out some serious money on some birds that didn't do anything for me, all the way into nothing hatched over a 2-year period.
Sure.
And
And
I
that's
tried everything. I tried to force it, and there just was no making their eggs hatch at all.
mhm. And that's how a
There
lot of mentees end up at your doorstep, so to speak, is they've had some frustration and they've read advice on the internet and it's not working out for them. And hopefully they were at the feed store or the general store getting coffee in the morning and somebody said, "Hey, you know what? You should go talk to this person. They've been raising birds for a while in our neighborhood." That's really the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah, keeping it local helps a lot too. The mentoring remotely, there's more challenges to that because, for example, I'm not able to go put my hands on the birds. I'm not able to evaluate their living situation. Having that
Mhm.
in-person contact is a lot more valuable than relying on pictures and videos. And
For sure. But we live in the modern internet age and this is our medium of communication. So we'll make the best of it.
yeah, we're trying.
I think one thing I would want from a mentor is I would want them to really inspire me. And I was so fortunate working with Mr. Reese. He would inspire me. He would push me, but he did it out of kindness and out of wanting me to succeed and do better. I thought one of the things he did that most inspired me was I'd known him about 7 or 8 years at this point, and I saw him at a show in, I think it was in Baxley, Georgia. That may be wrong, but he called me over to the side. He said, "I want to tell you something." And I could tell it was going to be a serious conversation. And he looked me square in the eyes and he said, "I don't want to ever beat you again at another show." And I thought, wow, to have him tell me that, it inspired me. It scared the heck out of me, to be honest with you, the first time he said that.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
so empowering because
Oh, it was.
the person who meant the most to you at the time said, "You're ready. You're better than me. Go."
This brings us to the close of another Poultry Keepers podcast, and we're very happy you chose to join us. Until next time, we'd appreciate it if you would drop us a note letting us know your thoughts about our podcast. Please share our podcast with all of your friends that keep poultry, and we hope you'll join us again when we'll be talking poultry from feathers to function.